How to master skills for the TOEFL IBT speaking. Advanced. Unit 31. Shaping. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
Raising a child isn't the easiest thing in the world. However, there are certain methods you can use to mold your child's behavior. Allow me to explain. One day, my young daughter asked for some coloring books, but she'd never even held a marker or a crayon before. Simply doing that was hard for her. So I decided to use shaping to help her. First, whenever she made any kind of mark in the proper place, I'd praise her loudly. I'd say, "Wow, look at that. That's great." I'd pay her lots of compliments, and that would encourage her to continue coloring. But there were some times when she'd make a mark outside the drawing. Then I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't praise her at all. My daughter would realize she was drawing improperly, so she'd work harder to draw inside the lines. Later, I'd make sure to praise her when she got the colors right. For example, if she drew a tree trunk brown, I'd praise her a lot. If she colored it pink, I wouldn't say a thing. That got my daughter to focus more, so she'd even try to get the colors right. You should see her pictures now. No, don't worry. I'm not going to show you them. Anyway, that's how shaping works.
Unit 32. Memorization. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
So what makes people memorize facts better? This should interest you all since, of course, as students, you have to memorize tons of facts lest you fail your exams. I once conducted an experiment on memorization. Let me tell you how it went. I had 2 classes on the same topic. I assigned both of them work memorizing facts about the rainforest. The first class had to memorize them while just sitting at their desks. I gave them 10 minutes to try to memorize the facts and then quizzed them on the facts. These students did somewhat poorly. Afterwards, many claimed they felt uncomfortable trying to memorize everything while the other students were around them. In short, they felt their environment hindered them in their attempts at memorization. As for the second class, I let them split up into small groups composed of their friends in the class. They spread out through the classroom and worked together. When I tested them, their performance was much better. Upon questioning, most said they had felt very comfortable working together with their partners. They were also able to ignore the other students since they weren't sitting nearby, and they could focus on the task at hand without any outside hindrances.
Unit 33. Cyclic population change. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes. You've all seen that news report about how we've got a record number of deer in the forest this year, right? Well, what's made the numbers of deer increase dramatically? It's called cyclic population change. Let me give you an explanation so that you can understand it easily. Now, this usually happens in 3 separate phases. Imagine a forest with a large number of mice, yet a small number of wolves. What happens? Well, the wolves have an enormous food source, so their numbers increase rapidly since they can feast on all of the mice. This is what we refer to as phase 1 in cyclic population change. However, pretty soon, you've got a massive wolf population, yet a minuscule mouse population. The wolves have simply overfed and increased their numbers rapidly. This is phase 2. So next, the number of wolves begins to decrease even more rapidly than it had increased. The mice, not having to worry about looking behind their backs for wolves everywhere, begin to recover their numbers. This is phase 3. Of course, once the mice numbers totally recover, we're back at phase 1 again and the cycle starts anew. Unit 35. Scent marketing. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
You've all probably visited the local department store only to be besieged by all of the different scents. Have you ever wondered why there are so many different scents? Well, it's called scent marketing, and it's the concept that various scents actually encourage people to shop more. There was a study conducted a while back about the scents used in a department store. One store scented its entire women's clothing section with fragrances which were appealing to women. It also sprayed its men's clothing section with aromas that men found to be pleasing. Interestingly, it doubled the number of clothes that it sold. In a nutshell, both men and women, since they were attracted to those smells, associated the clothes with those fragrances and made more purchases than they normally would have. There was also a survey about running shoes that was conducted recently. I think you'll find the results fascinating. Well, more often than not, people preferred for the running shoes they purchased to have some kind of fragrance. Furthermore, they actually expected to pay more money, around $10 in most cases, for the shoes that smelled nicer. So, not only do smells encourage people to spend more, but they also get people to pay more for the same products.
Unit 36. Fixed Action Patterns. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
Sometimes we have no choice in how we respond to something, like yawning. If I talk about it, see, look how many of you yawned just now. That's called a fixed action response. It's more common in animals of, well, lower intelligence than in humans, though. Let me illustrate it with a couple of examples. The male stickleback fish gets a bright red and blue belly during its breeding season. Well, it's a very aggressive fish, so if it sees another male with a red stomach, it'll attack that male. However, if you put a red ball near a stickleback, it'll attack the red ball too. You see, it automatically responds to the presence of anything red by attacking. That action is fixed for the stickleback. The gray-legged goose provides another example of a fixed action response. These birds sit on their eggs before they hatch. However, sometimes an egg might roll out of the nest. The mother goose simply rolls the egg back into the nest with her long neck and beak. Now, if someone takes the egg away, the goose will continue trying to push an imaginary egg back into her nest. Additionally, if there are any egg-like objects nearby, marbles, stones, or whatever, the goose will try rolling them into her nest as well.
Unit 37. Creative Categorization. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes. Imagine you're a marketing executive and you have some products to sell. There may even be a huge section of society which doesn't purchase your products. Well, there are a couple of ways to break into that market. You might try changing the price of your product. Did you know, for example, that watches were once regarded as expensive pieces of jewelry? Timepieces used to cost too much for most people. But most of you have watches, right? What happened? Well, one brilliant marketer started touting watches as fashion accessories. Sales of watches leaped dramatically. You can get watches for less than $10 nowadays, and they come in all kinds of styles. By changing the category into which watches fell, they began appealing to a greater number of people. Here's another. Think about cell phones. At first, their use was limited and only rich people or businessmen used them. However, companies began marketing them to the masses. Now you've got kids and grandparents with cell phones these days. Does a 6-year-old kid need a phone? Not at all. But marketers have made it so that phones are no longer outrageously expensive. Likewise, they aren't considered tools only for the rich or for businessmen anymore. They're fashion devices now, almost like accessories for many people. Unit 38. Process Explanation. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
We all have things we don't comprehend or know how to do. In these cases, we require explanations to learn the steps involved in doing them. When a person provides that explanation, he can do so in a couple of different ways. For example, I bought a cell phone the other day. I'm somewhat, technologically challenged, so I had no clue as to how to use it. I could make and receive calls, but that was about it. I wanted to save some numbers on my telephone so that I wouldn't have to remember them, but I didn't know what to do. One of my friends then showed me exactly how to do it. He took me through it step by step and made sure that I could do it by myself before he took off. Later that night, I was watching an educational channel on television. There was a program about cell phone technology and how it's improving our lives. That show imparted a whole lot of knowledge about cell phones. However, by the end of the program, I still had no idea how to operate my phone. Sure, I knew all about the theory and how they work. I had the information, but the program never explained the process of actually using a cell phone.
Unit 39. Competence Stages. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
Everyone's got activities you're good at and others that you don't perform so well. You have therefore reached varying levels of competence at these activities. So are you consciously or unconsciously competent at them? Let's find out. I'll use some personal examples to illustrate what I mean. Yesterday, I was typing up a manuscript in my office when the phone rang. I was in a hurry because of a deadline, but this phone call was important. So I kept typing away as I talked. Unfortunately, I'm not a good typist. I need to focus a lot when typing. After chatting for 10 minutes, I looked at the computer screen. It was filled with errors. You see, I'm at the conscious competence stage for typing. I can't do it well unless I concentrate. While driving home that same day, I got another phone call. I've been driving for years, so I'm pretty good. As I was on the phone, someone cut into my lane, but without even thinking, I swerved away and avoided the car. Then a kid ran into the middle of the road. Without thinking, I slammed on the brakes. All this happened while I was on the phone. Driving has become second nature to me, so I'm at the unconscious competence stage of it.
Unit 40. Paradoxes of Choice. Listening. Listen to a lecture about the same topic and take notes.
Nowadays, everyone talks about how they have more choices than ever before. But is this a good thing? It may seem like a paradox, but having so many choices is not necessarily positive. Many people talk about the freedom having so many choices gives them. They say it's so nice to get to choose from a wide range of selections, but you know what? That's not always true. Last night, I took my daughter down to the mall to buy some blue jeans. Apparently, there are tons of different brands and styles of blue jeans out there. At first, my daughter thought all those choices were great. However, soon she realized it was something of a burden. She had so many options that she couldn't make up her mind. That's quite the paradox, isn't it? Here's another. My wife and I were trying to decide what to order for dinner last night. Our town has so many different kinds of restaurants that deliver. Unfortunately, that makes choosing difficult at times. We talked for about 30 minutes, but couldn't decide on anything. In the end, it caused us so much stress that we just ordered the simplest thing and got a pizza. Of course, neither one of us was happy, but that's how paradoxes work sometimes.
How to master skills for the TOEFL IBT speaking. Advanced. Chapter 5. Conversation. Sample IBT question. Listen to a conversation between a professor and a student.
Professor Edgers, I've got a problem and need some advice.
Okay, let me know what's going on.
As you know, I'm double majoring, so I've got a lot more work than most other students. Well, I've got to submit 2 separate papers in different classes by next week, and that's going to be too much work for me to do in that short of a period of time.
One of those papers is for my literature class, right?
Yes, ma'am, and the other's in history.
Well, why don't you start writing your literature paper tonight instead of waiting until the last minute? Then you could work on your other paper next week.
I'd love to do that, but I have lots of reading homework in another class, so I've got to do that first.
In that case, have you considered using the same topic for both of your papers? Then you could just write one paper and turn it into both classes. I wouldn't mind.
I'd have to ask for Professor Goldberg's opinion before doing that, and he's liable to dislike that idea. I heard another student asked him the same thing once, and he refused to allow her to do that.
Unit 41. Student Life 1. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes. Hey, Jennifer, why are you still here? I thought you were going to pick your friend up from the airport right now. Aren't you going to be late?
Yeah, well, I was going to drive there, but my car got a flat tire. I'm not sure what I should do now.
Why don't you take a taxi to get there and back? It should get you to the airport in plenty of time if traffic isn't heavy.
That's not a bad idea, but do you know how much 2 taxis will set me back? They're expensive. I've only got a few dollars left, and payday isn't for a couple of days. I don't know if I could afford them.
Well, what are you going to do then?
Hey, I've got an idea. I could always ask my roommate Stephanie if I could borrow her car. Then I could drive there by myself.
You could do that, but I heard Stephanie talking about how she was going out shopping after school today. I'm sure she's going to need her car to do that.
Oh, right. Well, the plane lands in a little less than an hour. I've got to do something quickly.
Unit 42. Internships. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
This just isn't going to work.
What are you talking about? Is something the matter?
Yeah, actually, I have a big problem. You know that I've got that internship in the chemistry department, right?
Know about it? That's all you ever talk about. So, what's the problem then?
Well, it's too much work for an unpaid job. I really need some cash, especially since I keep on finding myself short of money these days.
You should find yourself a part-time job. That seems like the logical thing to do. You could just work on weekends, and then you'd have a supply of money coming in.
Yeah, I could do that, but that would be really hard on me. I wouldn't have any free time at all if I got a job. I'm not sure I could stomach that.
Do you have a better idea then?
I suppose I could just share a lot of my work with some of the other interns. You know, they don't seem to do too much at their jobs. I'm the real workhorse.
Okay, but what will your boss think about that? What if he thinks you're getting too lazy and then decides to get rid of you?
Oh, I hadn't considered that at all.
Unit 44. Living situations. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
Jenny, how's that new apartment of yours working out? You must be so excited to have finally gotten out of the dorms, huh?
Well, I wish it were going all right. Unfortunately, it's not.
Let me guess. It's too expensive?
Oh, no, that's not it. It's my roommate, Melissa. You know her. She's the art major.
Okay, so what's she doing?
Well, she painted the most horrid-looking picture, and then she hung it up on the living room wall. It's a total monstrosity. It covers the entire wall and looks terrible.
Well, just tell her that you don't like it, and then she'll take it down.
You know how sensitive Melissa is. If I told her that I hated her picture, she'd get upset and start crying. She might never even forgive me.
Yeah, I remember that about her. So, what else can you do then?
I guess I could just keep my mouth shut and not say anything. I could probably learn to ignore that painting, I guess.
What? But it's your house too. You shouldn't have to see something you think is ugly every day just because your roommate likes it.
I know, but it's a lot tougher than it seems. Put yourself in my shoes, okay?
Unit 45. Changing classes. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes. Catherine, why are you eating here all alone?
I'm just in a bad mood today. Professor Apulu got all upset at me in front of the class because I was late again.
Again? You've been late to Professor Apulu's class multiple times. That's not too bright. He's tough on tardiness.
Yeah, I know, but what am I supposed to do? You know that I work part-time at Golden Light Restaurant, and it's kind of far away from school. When traffic's bad, I just can't get to class on time.
Well, if I were you, I'd just drop the class. Professor Apulu takes off points for being late. You might not get an A.
Yeah, I know about his reputation, but I need this class to graduate. It's not being offered again until next year, and I don't want to wait until my senior year to take it. I want to get it over with now.
Well, is there any way to reschedule the class? You know, take it at another time?
I've considered that, but the only other time it's offered is really early in the morning, like at 8:30. With my heavy class and work schedule, I don't know if I could get up that early 3 days a week.
Unit 46. Extracurricular Activities 1. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
Deb, why are you on crutches? Did you get in a car accident or something?
No, I hurt my ankle really badly, though. I sprained it, so the doctor gave me these crutches to help me get around.
Well, that's a relief. Wait a second. Don't you have that performance coming up soon with your dance club?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my mind off of it. It's in 3 days, so there's no way that I'll be able to perform. And I've got the leading role.
So how's your club going to be able to put on the performance?
Well, we've thought about changing everyone's roles. That might work.
Everyone's roles, but doesn't that mean that all your dance team members will have to change roles and learn some new parts?
Yeah, that's true. We don't have much time, so it would take a huge effort to do that. Plus, some people might forget their steps during the performance.
Is there another option?
Well, we could just get one new person to replace me. We have someone in mind.
But
Well, honestly, she's not that good of a dancer. I think the steps are much too complicated for her to follow. I don't see how she'll be able to manage.
Unit 47. Student Life 2. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
What on earth are you doing with all those books? You're going to throw out your back carrying them around.
I need them for my class.
For one class? Which one?
It's my advanced chemistry class. You know, it's a lot harder than I expected it to be. I'm either in the lab conducting experiments or in the library boning up on theory. I'd like to keep taking it, but I've also got my weekly editorial to write for the school paper. I might have to quit doing one of the two.
That sounds serious. I know how much you love your editorial position.
Yeah, I don't want to give it up. Hey, I suppose I could just write an editorial once every 2 weeks instead. That would give me more free time.
Oh, you couldn't do that. Think of how many of your readers you'd disappoint. We love reading your columns.
Well, do you have any better ideas?
Sure, just drop that advanced chemistry course and take another one. Make sure it's easier, though.
But I don't enjoy taking easy classes, even if it means I get a higher grade. I want a challenge, and this chemistry class is definitely that.
Well, you'd better do something soon before you burn out from all that work.
Unit 48. Student Advisors. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
You look frustrated about something. Is there anything I can do to help you?
Not unless you can tell me where Professor Reed is.
That's your advisor, right? What, is he missing or something?
Bingo! You're totally right. I've gone to his office every day this week, but he hasn't been in. He's not even keeping his office hours. How am I supposed to get any advice from my advisor when he doesn't even show up? It's time to register for next semester's classes, and I need some help.
Well, why don't you talk to another professor in your department? Maybe someone else could help you.
I could do that, but I don't really know any of them very well. Plus, they don't have any of my files like my transcripts, so they can't really give me any good advice.
Oh, right. I guess that might be difficult to do. In that case, just send Professor Reed an email and ask for some help that way.
I could, but he checks his email only once every couple of weeks. That man is helpless when it comes to computers. There's no telling when he'll respond.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Unit 49. Extracurricular Activities 2. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
Kevin, how's your semester going so far? Good?
I wish. I'm so busy I barely have any time for myself.
How's that?
Well, I'm taking a full load of 5 classes this semester in addition to serving as president of the photography club. Since our club meets frequently, I'm really busy. I tell you what, it's really hard doing everything.
Well, if that's the case, why don't you let someone else serve as president of the club? That should relieve you of the burden of leadership.
It would make my life easier, but I really love being president. There's just something exciting about being the leader and getting to make all of the decisions. I'm not sure that I could do that.
How are you planning to make your life easier then?
I suppose that I might drop one of my classes, but there's only one class that's an elective. All the others are required courses.
Okay, so drop it. Problem solved.
Not so fast. My only elective is an acting course, but it's being taught by a professional actress. She's even been in a few famous movies. If I quit that class, I'd be losing out on a great opportunity to improve my acting skills and learn from someone who's actually in the business. Unit 50. Residential Life. Listening. Listen to a conversation and take notes.
I missed you at breakfast this morning. What happened?
I haven't been sleeping very well. I've got a problem with my roommate.
Who, Susie? What's she doing?
She is the noisiest person I've ever known. You wouldn't believe how much noise that woman makes. Anyway, she's so noisy that I can't sleep well at night. It's like I have insomnia, only worse. It's really affecting me negatively. I've tried talking to her, but she just won't quiet down at all. I'm in a real quandary as to what to do.
That's too bad. What are you thinking of doing to solve this problem?
Some people have suggested that I complain to the student housing office. If she gets an official warning from them, it should make her be quiet.
I suppose that would work, but doesn't it seem a bit harsh? I mean, that could affect her student record negatively and hurt her in the future.
Yeah, maybe. I've actually thought about searching for a room in another dorm. Then I'd at least be able to get away from her.
Wow, things are serious.
Yeah, but I don't really want to move across campus. I'll miss all of the friends I've made in my dorm. It doesn't seem really fair that I have to be the one who moves.
How to master skills for the TOEFL IBT speaking. Advanced. Chapter 6. Lecture. Sample IBT question. Listen to a lecture about an academic subject.
We've discussed a lot of different aspects about marketing, but there's one thing that's the most important of all. You need to know this, so let me tell you what it is. A successful marketer will ensure that his product grabs people's attention, which will then convince people to purchase that product. I think I can best explain this by providing a couple of examples. You've all probably gone shopping for cereal at the local supermarket. There are so many colorful boxes, you just think that they'd all stand out, wouldn't you? Well, one cereal company once decided to market the same product in 2 different ways to determine which one was better. The first way it did that was by designing a colorful cereal box that was filled with the most amazing pictures and descriptions of its product. It was a complete masterpiece. Unfortunately, when it went on the store's shelves, it didn't look any different from the dozens of other cereal boxes that were right next to it. So, shoppers failed to notice it. Accordingly, it failed to make significant sales. However, the company also marketed the same cereal in a plain white box that simply had the word cereal written across the front of it in big black letters. While you might think that this was a nonsensical design, The box's plainness made it stand out from the other cereal boxes. People noticed it, and they started purchasing that cereal because they had noticed it. The company found that its sales of the cereal in the plain box began increasing rapidly. That box, while simple, was an example of successful marketing.
Unit 51. Defensive Adaptations. Listening. Listen to a lecture and take notes. Most animals have ways to protect themselves. They require defenses since virtually every animal is potential prey for another animal higher on the food chain. So, over countless generations, animals have developed various ways to protect themselves. Interestingly, some are categorized as defensive while others are considered offensive adaptations. Let's look at the defensive adaptations first. Look at the picture in your book on page 242. It's a turtle, right? You've all seen them. Some of you may even have had pet turtles. But did you know they've actually developed two defensive methods? The first is the most obvious. It's the shell. The shell covers the turtle's entire body, including its vital organs. The shell is very hard. Most predators give up trying to bite through it. But take a look at the neck. It's really long. Oh, a weak point, right? Wrong. The turtle has a flexible neck, so it can easily fold its neck back into its shell when danger comes along. But remember, some adaptations are offensive. Look at the picture on the opposite page. You may not be familiar with this animal. It's a hedgehog. Now, look at those spines on its back. Nasty looking, aren't they? These spines are an offensive weapon the hedgehog can use against much larger animals. First, it wraps itself up in a ball. This makes it hard to attack. Sometimes the hedgehog might even ram its attacker. And those spines hurt. Oh, but there's more. Those spines, unlike the porcupines, are hard to remove. So the attacking animal suffers twice, when it gets stuck with the spines and when it tries to remove them.